deep underground, beyond the reach of sunlight, in chambers where no one had stepped for 30,000 years. There, in the absolute darkness, someone lit a torch and found something that shouldn't be there. Paintings, hundreds of them, lions, bison, horses, handprints pressed into the stone by people who died before the last ice age. The year was 1994, the cave was Chauvet, and the paintings were over 30,000 years old. The discoverers wept. One of them said he felt the presence of the artist still in the cave. This wasn't the first cave art ever found, but it kept getting older. Every new discovery pushed the date further back. Now we know, humans have been painting for at least 68,000 years, on every continent except Antarctica. The question is, why? Why go deep into dark, dangerous caves to paint? They didn't live in these caves. The paintings are in the deepest, hardest to reach chambers. They crawled through darkness, risked falls, faced predators that lived in the caves, cave bears, cave lions, all to make images on walls no one would easily see. This wasn't decoration. This wasn't casual. This was something deeply, urgently important. For more than a century, scientists have tried to explain it. Hunting magic, shamanism, the first language. And in 2026, scientists recovered ancient human DNA from the cave walls themselves, from the very hands that made the art. So let's go into the caves, let's look at the walls, and ask the oldest question in art. Why did they do it? Before we can ask why, we need to see what. What did they paint? Mostly animals, not people, not landscapes, not plants. Animals, bison, horses, deer, mammoths, lions, rhinos, bears, animals they hunted, and animals that hunted them. The paintings are sophisticated. Artists use the curves of the rock to give the animals shape and depth. Look at the horses of Chauvet, not stick figures, portraits. The artist knew horses. These were masterpieces, made by people who watched animals every day of their lives. And then there are the hands, thousands of hand stencils, across dozens of caves, across continents. A hand stencil is made by placing your hand against the rock and blowing pigment over it. What remains is your shadow, your presence. In Maltraviso Cave in Spain, researchers found hand stencils more than 66,700 years old. Modern humans weren't in Europe that long ago, which means the artist was a Neanderthal. Neanderthals made art. They had the same urge to leave their mark, just like us. And in Indonesia, on the island of Sulawesi, there's a painting of a warty pig, 45,500 years old. Even older, hand stencils from the same region, dated to about 67,800 years. The oldest rock art we have found, from Spain to Indonesia, from Ice Age Europe to tropical islands. The urge to paint was universal. So, theory number one, the oldest explanation, and maybe the most powerful. Imagine you're an Ice Age hunter, your family's hungry, the herds have moved, days without a kill. You can't control the animals, but maybe you can control their image. This is the hunting magic theory. Paint the animal, gain power over the animal, and look at the evidence. Many painted animals carry marks, spear marks, dots that look like wounds. There's a famous figure in the cave of Trois Frères, part human, part animal, antlers on its head, a sorcerer. Maybe the cave was where the boundary between hunter and prey disappeared. Modern hunter-gatherers had hunting rituals too. The Sandern indigenous Australians, native peoples of the Americas, rituals to honor prey, to call the herds back. The cave paintings may be the oldest form of this, but the hunting magic theory has a big problem. The animals they painted are not the animals they ate. Reindeer bones fill the camps. Reindeer paintings? Almost none. They painted the powerful ones, the dangerous ones, not everyday dinner. And many of the best paintings sit in the deepest, hardest chambers, not a practical hunting room. If the goal was a better hunt, you'd do the ritual near the animals, not 300 meters underground. So maybe hunting was only part of the story. Maybe they went deep because the darkness itself was the point. Which brings us to theory number two, the one that changed everything. In the 1980s, researcher David Lewis Williams looked at cave art and modern shaman rock art side by side. He studied the San people of southern Africa, who still made rock art and still spoke about trance. The shaman said something simple and shockingly clear. They painted what they saw in trance, not the outer world, the inner one. In trance, the brain makes patterns, grids, zigzags, dots. Then animals form inside those patterns. Shamans feel themselves die and return, travel to spirit places, speak with ancestors, and when they came back, they painted it. Lewis Williams saw the same grids, dots, and half human, half animal figures in European caves. So maybe the cave wasn't a gallery, it was a record of spiritual journeys. In this idea, the cave wall is a membrane, thin skin between our world and the spirit world, and there is physical evidence that backs parts of this. In 2022, researchers recreated torchlight inside painted caves, unsteady firelight, flickering. In that light, painted legs seem different, bodies seem thicker. The animals look almost alive. The artist may have painted motion into stone, a kind of first cinema, 30,000 years early. Now picture yourself deep underground, fire flickering, sensory quiet, and the animals on the wall begin to feel close, almost living. But caves hold another secret, one you cannot see. You have to hear it. In the 1980s, a French researcher named Igor Reznikov walked into painted caves and started singing. He was mapping the cave with sound. Where does the voice bloom? Where does it die? What he found is stunning. The paintings sit exactly where the cave sounds best. In cave after cave, denser art matches stronger resonance. The better the echo, the more they painted. Artists may have chosen the wall with their ears first, then their eyes. And what paints a cave with sound? Deep voices, drumming on stone, chants, the thunder of imaginary hooves. Imagine the full ceremony. Firelight, moving looking animals, voices, drums. The cave singing back. This was not looking at art on a wall. This was standing inside the art. Maybe that is why they crawled so deep. The deeper you go, the more the outside world dies. The inside world wins. But there is one more theory, a more radical one. What if the caves were not only for ritual? What if cave art was also the first language? In 2022, researchers listed 32 abstract signs that repeat across European caves for about 30,000 years. Same marks, again and again, across regions that had no easy way to copy each other. That looks like a system. Before written words, there may have been painted marks. Before sentences, signs, a skeleton of meaning on stone, which forces a deeper question. Who exactly held the pigment? The answer is bigger than Homo sapiens alone. For a long time, textbooks assumed cave art was ours alone, modern humans. End of story. Then Spanish dates dropped like a hammer. Hand stencils older than modern humans in Europe. Neanderthal hands. For decades, Neanderthals were drawn as brutes. Then the art said otherwise. They made jewelry from eagle talons, buried dead with flowers, and painted walls, not lesser, different. In 2026, labs pulled ancient DNA off cave walls in Spain and Portugal. Skin and hand cells left on stone. The hand that made the mark, we can almost meet it. And further east, Denisova Cave held another human story. The Denisovans. They left fine stone jewelry, a polished bracelet of shocking skill. Art was in their hands too. At least 3 humankinds made art. The need to leave a mark was not ours alone, it was shared. When our lineages met, they mixed. Your DNA still carries tiny Neanderthal and Denisovan pieces. So when you look at ancient hand stencils, some of those hands are still a little bit yours. These walls are not only artifacts, they're family notes, messages from your deep past. One of the tenderest finds, tiny handprints, children's hands, pressed into the same sacred dark. Kids were led through dangerous passages to add their mark. Not a hobby, an initiation. Art bound the group, across ages, across deaths. The wall kept the tribe together when memory alone would fail. So after all the theories, why did they paint? Honest answer, we do not know for sure, and we may never know one single reason. Maybe the paintings held many meanings at once. Magic and vision, sound and story, code and prayer. Here's what we do know. The paintings outlived everything else they made. Shelters rotted, tools broke, bodies returned to dust. The painted walls stayed. They must have sensed it. That stone would keep a promise flesh could not. When a hand pressed the rock and pigment flew, a message left the body and entered time. I was here. I existed. I mattered. In a world without photos, without writing, without cloud storage, stone was the only forever. Oral memory dies with the storyteller, but pigment on rock survives the storyteller. The hand becomes bone, the bone becomes dust, the print remains, and they taught the next generation to add their hands too. Identity as a family of marks. We are the people who paint. We are the people who leave marks. That was the tribe statement. They succeeded beyond any dream they could have had. Millions now travel to see the work. Scientists build careers on it. Children learn the images in school. Anonymous cave artists are now among the most famous makers who ever lived. Fame arrived 30,000 years late. Other art painted on wood or skin is gone forever. Stone was the lucky choice. Stone is patient. Stone keeps promises. What you give stone, a stone gives the future. So why did they paint? Maybe we have the question backwards. Maybe the real question is not why they painted. It's why we still do. Every photo, every post, every diary line, same ancient need in new tools. I was here. This moment mattered. Remember me. The caves are a mirror. Look into them long enough, and you see your own face, not primitive others. Us. Same fear of being forgotten. Same hope that a mark might outlast a life. And the caves are still there, still dark, still holding messages for whoever arrives next. Some painted chambers have not been found yet, hands still waiting in the dark for torchlight. Somewhere a child's handprint has been in darkness for 40,000 years, still saying more than a speech ever could. Art is older than cities, older than farming, close to the root of what made us human. Before we built, we painted. Before we wrote, we drew. The first fully human act was a mark that meant something. My Mind Stick, the secret history of being human, told in sticks,